Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Today's guest is a mathematician, engineer, spiritual scientist who holds the world record for putting unmanned balloons into space. He is a spiritual teacher and has met with some of the world's biggest leaders, including His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. He is the native elder and Sajan of the Mi'kmaq Nation. Welcome back to the show, my friend, David Lonebear Sanipass.
Good afternoon, Matt. How are you this afternoon, this beautiful day? It's sunny where we are. We just come out of a snowstorm, and I guess it's spring. That's what you expect in Maine is like snowstorms to 80-degree weather. So we're here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
The same here. The same here. I've been busy. Been working a little bit in the office and in the shop and trying to get some stuff done. My season's pretty busy. My schedule just filled up in the last couple of months. It's kind of hard to find to come back and work in the lab a little bit, but I'm spending the next couple of days here and hopefully get some things done.
Amazing. Well, we're having this show again because I had the privilege and the honor to spend some time with you in Maine. What I witnessed and what I experienced and what I got to enjoy with the people and the projects was mind-blowing. So I can definitely say to everybody that you're the real deal working on some very interesting stuff. You hold vast knowledge that I've never seen before. And one of the projects we're working on is the biodome. And we meant to do a recording there. And we wanted to talk about what the biodome was, where it came from, what it's going to do. So maybe we can start with that. So if somebody's listened to the podcast before, they're going to know who you are. And so they can look all that up. There's some images and things like that. But maybe you just want to launch into a little bit about what the biodome is, what it's going to do. It's very fascinating.
Oh, great. Thank you, Matt. We enjoyed your visit. Please come back. My house is open to you. I enjoyed your company and we had some really good discussions. So you have some questions that people didn't really know what to ask, but you seem like you knew what to ask. The biodome. Let me give a history on what the biodome is and where it comes from and what we're doing there. Part of what the biodome does, you have places on your Earth that are magnetically free. I don't know if you know what that is. It is when magnetic field doesn't have very many interruptions in it. And some people have a good feeling with that. It might be on a mountain, it might be on the side of a hill, it might even be in your apartment, in your house. But these do exist in your world, and there's a lot of them. But a lot of them is so out of place, it's hard to get to. So over the period of 30 years that I've been working on resonators, and I'll explain what a resonator is in a second. A resonator is a magnetic field generator. It generates a magnetic field. Depending what power you put into it, if it's 8 volts to 80 volts or 800 volts, it depends on what that field is. Our Earth conducts a magnetic field around it, and it goes out thousands and thousands of miles out into space, and it's a force shield for our planet. It deflects cosmic rays, it slows things down, and it brings meteors in, much as you don't realize. It brings meteors in at an angle so they don't come straight on. If they come straight on, they pop right through the atmosphere. But it slows them down a little bit, so that gives them time to burn up in the atmosphere. So that's what a magnetic field does for the Earth. What does it do with the human being? Well, it puts us in a good place. It matches our gravity, so our magnetic field matches our Earth. So you can say that we're one with our Earth, with our magnetic field. But there's, like I said, there's places on Earth that there's a magnetic free. It's not, it says they're not magnetic free, but it's not so distorted. And what the biodome does, it kind of like generates a inverted field, so that a lot of things that hit us, one of them is EM wave. A couple other things that's going on in the world with magnetics is that, okay, we're afraid of radio signals hitting us and damaging us. This keeps most of the radio waves out. Sometimes that's hard to bring a cell phone in there because it's really taking them. It's not receiving the signal because a cell phone wave is magnetic part of electricity, and it does hit us. The biodome, we're doing an inverted field so we can be inside that field and experience the uninterruption of what Spirit's trying to tell us. The influences out there right now is, of course, is what we're making, our cell phones, our technology, lights, street lights, car magnetic fields around us, radar. So this is really hard to understand what Spirit's trying to tell us, because we can process most magnetic waves, but it's hard to process the electrical magnetic wave that's generated from a cell phone because it's in a binary code. So you have to know somewhat about binary code to understand what cell phone is. So, but Spirit is a little bit different code. It's a longer code, but that code is in our DNA, and we be able to translate that, no problem, if we can eliminate all the other waves. And the biodome is kind of doing that, so that we can understand what that message is, or not, to try to figure out what the message is. And it's going to take a lot of people to do that in that, because the message is so long. I might have a piece of A, and you might have a piece of B, and somebody has Z, and everybody else. But we got to figure out what that message. And the biodome is helping us to do that. Right now, the biodome's up probably 20%. It's up to power. It's not fully powered right up now. It's just enough to keep going. I can detect it from where I am. I'm well over 2,000 miles away from that, so I can pretty well detect that. So it is working. What's it doing? Right now, just stabilizing a field, and that means it's just working. It's receiving and transmitting a little bit. It's like a 9-volt battery transmitting a radio signal. It is detectable, but you've got to have some sensitive equipment to detect it. So, on the construction of the biodome, John Denver and his group put it together many years ago. They put it up for a big greenhouse, but there's other things that's in there that we cannot explain. The aluminum is a little bit different than regular aluminum. It's not aircraft aluminum, but aluminum is specially made for the biodome. The biodome itself has a magnetic field without any power generation, and that's through the aluminum that they use. They use a little bit of magnesium in the aluminum and another mineral. But it is generating field, and we're working now to have a restoration. The outside, a lot of it's been cracked. There's fiberglass on it that's been broken, and the wind and everything else. So we're starting to repair that. And plus, we are right now that we're going to go back in a month or so to work on it again, and we're going to put another 10%. So it's going to be up to 30%. Hopefully that, and once it goes up to 30% or 35%. People are going to actually be able to tune into it, depending where they are. I'm hoping that once it goes up to 35%, it will be at least 5,000 to 6,000 miles radius. Depends on what that yields, because I was looking the other day what it's doing right now. Right now, it's a pleasant feeling when you're inside that. You have a sense of calmness. But then the crystals in that biodome has been worked with for, well, you've been there and you've seen what it does. It's been precisely placed so that they react to each other. Going back to work on it more, we're going to have to put a control panel in there that has more, when I say control panel, more of a control panel that has the harmony of the universe sounds. And that's all broken up to different wavelengths so we can understand what we're doing and what we're saying. Spirit doesn't speak in English language. It speaks in a vibrational language. Like I said, the DNA that we have inside of us, we have the key to that vibrational language, just be able to unlock that. And there's no one person, again, there's no one person that can understand that language. I can understand a little bit of it, but not all of it. There's not one person on this earth that can contain all that knowledge. But as a community and as a collective, that we can get most of this information and use it, actually use something from this information. Because spirit is trying to tell us something, but we have the wrong antennas up, you know. What is spirit really trying to tell us, you know? And that's part of the biodome project is to have that little more understanding of the universe and understanding of what peace really means. And I think that's the project is going good. Of course, we always need financial help, and we're going back down again in a month, and then hoping that that we get a lot more work done on it. The work that we'll be doing on it next month is always pretty precise work. It's not going to be, right now I've been chipping and making room for different things in the stone, things like that. But the next work is actually using them. I don't want to call it electronics, more of the interworkings of the equipment. Some of it that's harder to understand because it's not a circuit. Most of the things that we work with is light fibers and vibrational inverted waves. It's almost like a satellite dish coming backwards, going backwards. So all the waves are coming in and we're sorting up the waves. And right now that we're being hit at the biodome, I had a chance to go through the data, at least 28,000 different waves per minute. So there's a lot of information going there. And hopefully the next month that we're going to be able to receive some of that and store it and try to decipher what that means. So that's some of the things that we're doing, Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just about to try to recap it all, and then my brain froze trying to take it all in. I was there, and it was amazing. And so I'm going to say some stuff and then try to formulate a question, and just to kind of translate for people. So I went to North Carolina. I was in the biodome. You can see it on my Facebook. It's very interesting engineering. This technology comes from the ancient copper scrolls, which is a part of your lineage. It's a part of what you're responsible for as the native elder and the sage to have this. And part of it is technology. And so this is very fascinating technology that I got to learn about. And the way that I understood it is kind of like we're fish, or maybe, yeah, we're fish in polluted waters, and we're actually dolphins, and we can create sonar and maybe communicate across the planet. But right now what's happening is we have all these distorted signals, so we can't get the communications from Hawaii over to Australia, over to Canada or whatever. That's kind of how I wrap my mind around it a little bit. And so I guess the question is, once this thing is full on, and you explain this a little bit, once it's fully active, what capabilities does it have, and how does that help humanity?
I get this question quite a lot, and we've talked about this, what it does. People ask me a lot about prayer. I said, how should I pray? What should I pray about? What is prayer anyway? Usually prayer is that we're praying to something out there. It's like, okay, is it a God? Or is it a programmer? What are we praying? And most of us is praying for help. It's like, okay, I need help. And there's at least a couple billion on this planet that pray. Where's that going? That's how is, what's it have to do in our life and our path? So we have to think of, okay, that most of the time that we're praying to ourselves, most of the time that we are out there and trying to figure out our path to our life. It's like, okay, am I chosen to do anything? I don't know myself. It's that we're our own self-prophecy, really. Is that when we start praying, if we need help, we pray out loud, we will hear that, and that is transmitted. And that's kind of what the biodome is doing, is that it amplifies those thoughts and prayers of, even if it's not prayer. We pray for peace on earth. And I see this a lot on the internet, and before the internet, I've seen people gathered in thousands to stop the wars and stop killing and stuff like that. How come we are not heard? Why is that not a big thing on the list to do? Is that I don't think we believe in peace the way that some people do. The people in our governments are people, just like you and I, and And they're there for just the same reason that I'm at a biodome. It's like, okay, I'm working on a machine or a device that amplifies that thought. That thought could be angry. And you can't discern angry from happiness, because that's really, some people say, well, you should just turn happiness on. Well, happiness and anger is almost on the same wavelength. It's like three points off the wavelength, so it has to be finely tuned. But that tune is that we do is that inside of us is that we can be happy when we want to. And again, I said when we want to, not when somebody else makes us up. Nobody can judge my happiness. Nobody can make me happy. It's that energy that's inside of it. And the biodome eliminates some of those other stimulants on the outside that we can see that clearly. And if we're in that inverted field, it's going to be more clear to us. And I'm not sure how many people we can fit in a biodome, but I know we had at least 60 in there before, and it did affect them, and that's only at 5%. So can you imagine if this thing at 30 or even at 100% affecting that? And I think too that we are, it's only, remember, it's only a device. It's not a spiritual piece. It's only a device that will help us to see. That's the only thing that thing does. And that is one of many that's been, we're going to be building around. There's one in Canada, hopefully one in the Peace Village that's a lot bigger than this one. But it will give a bubble, so at least we can think clearly. And that's kind of what it narrows down to be, because I was just trying to think of what that question was. Okay, what does it actually do? When I'm working on it, I know that I'm the engineer and the mechanic and the laborer and all the things of this. And of course, that I can feel my things amplified. If I'm upset, it amplifies that. If I'm in peace, it amplifies that. If I'm happy, it amplifies that. So we have to realize that this is a device, and it depends on what we want to do with it. We want peace. Maybe that might be a device for peace, is that we can at least think about it and get it started. We're the road of peace. This is not, nobody in this earth is going to say, okay, let's get a 1,000,000-man march and march for peace. That's great, but what are you going to do the day after, or the week after that? You march for those 3 days, that's going to have that peace. We should be marching every day. We should be heading in that star of peace. Take step by step, and this is one of the steps to it. It's like, I am not the best speaker in the world or best writer, so I can't write a book on peace and people read it, and mostly just 10% will read it anyway. And 5% might do something about it, and the 1% will be of peace. So here's this thing that we can all write a book if we wanted to, or be in peace at the same time. And that's a good path towards that direction that we're looking for. Peace on earth. I don't want to say goodwill to man, because it's too heavy right now.
Okay. Thanks for that. I'm just going to keep blasting questions because I have so many. Okay.
Please.
All right. So this part of this technology, so part of it is the star teachings, and the first 3 star teachings are kindness, compassion, and happiness. And when you speak, sometimes you say people get upset because you don't talk about love because it's not measurable. In the last podcast and us chatting, you said we have 2 spirit guides, positive and a negative, not to be mistaken with good or bad, because the body is the ground. So you can access this thing. And so on my birthday, I did an experiment, and I said 3 acts of kindness, because that's one of your teachings. You talk about when we were together that a lot of these people, right, just human beings, and then even spiritual people, they write the books, but they forget about the 3 acts of kindness. So even in myself, when I started, it was a big shift. I started to do so much more, just asking someone's name behind me, going out of my way to do something kind. And since those last 2 weeks, I've really experienced a lot of synchronicities, really profound and obvious things from spirit or source or my observation of reality that tells me that what I'm doing is being heard, it's being seen. And I know this for me. And the way that I equate that, and I don't know if this is what you think, but you speak as an electrical engineer. That's kind of like you're a scientist. And so if we have the positive and negative, the body is like maybe the capacitor. And when I'm in the vibration of kindness, I can raise my capacitor to say like 90 or whatever, when in fear and doubt and all those kinds of things, then maybe I'm only at 30, so I can't resonate at the same higher frequency. So maybe you can touch on that a little bit, but to continue to rant, because what I
Okay.
think is important is you talk about be in peace as an acronym. And that's what I think that most of us want. They want peace. We want inner peace. We want planetary peace. And we feel so isolated from each other. You know, we don't feel connected. We're divided through religion, through culture, through these things, even though we connect on the internet. You know, what does be in peace acronym mean? And what can the individual do or the collective do to create peace within the self and within the planet?
Well, um, B, Earth energy. That's what B stands for.
Hmm.
Do you understand that?
Now I do.
Well, when we talk about negative and positive, that we are electrical beings, really, that our bodies work on electricity. Our muscles are electricity, our hearts are working on electricity. Why can't we be understanding of that in spirit? Is that negative and positive? If you put it into a circle and break the circle, you have negative and positive. Nothing to do with negative words, nothing to do with positive words. It is a balance in the universe. It's the balance of what spirit is. Is that, and if you put kindness and compassion in there, you will get a triangle, and that triangle goes backwards. It goes kindness, compassion, and happiness. And when we add those two spirit guides, negative and positive, that creates a circuit. And when it creates a circuit, the triangle starts spinning inside. And when it starts spinning, we're kind of like a motor. Is that motor generates an electrical field. That electric field generates 16 feet around you, and it interacts with B, Earth's energy, the apple. We all think of what the magnetic field is. B, Earth's energy. That's what B stands for. Is when we are being Earth's energy, we are reacting to the Earth. When there's an earthquake, we can really detect it. We really understand what that is. The Earth moves night and day, comes close to the sun, goes farther sun. The moon, tides is a magnetic field. All the different things, and that we are generating a field from negative and positive and the kindness. But at one time, many thousands of years ago, before this was even here, that the kindness, compassion, happiness was one thing. You didn't have to divide them up. They were one. You were one with that. Because of our belief in what we do in this earth, that veil was kind of put over our eyes. It's like, okay, kindness is separate, compassion is separate, and happiness is separate. But they're really not. Way back when, that we had them. Why do we have to go out and say that I have to be kind or happy? Why are we not that anyway? It's because they're separate, and we think that once we do a kind act, we're going to get rewarded. No, you just reacting to the earth's field. We're becoming one with the earth. Peace as much as that we don't want to know is that is part of one of the teachings is peace on earth. But how do we do this in everyday life when everything is going on out there? We have a lot of, oh my goodness, the rhetoric going out there of different things and different beings and people talking to aliens. Something to think about, Matt. If you were an alien, 1807, and you met the natives, what would you say to them? How would you talk to these natives with your technology now? If you can go back in time and you can change anything in time you want, what would you change? And would they believe you? And if they do believe you, would they think you're God? I guess that's a good way to think about it. And we have to look where we are right now. The biodome is, like I said, is just a thing to help us to remind us who we are. But the technology, if you look at it, I drive down the road the other day, and most everybody's on their cell phone. If we are going to be attacked by aliens, we're not looking up. We're not looking up to see anything's up there. We forget to look at the stars. We forget to look at the humans around you. We forget to look at other people's eyes. And the eyes are the keys to the universe, to the stars. And when I talk, I try to talk about the ancient things that we do, but we also, in the ancient technology, we're just doing a cycle over and over, and we forgot about it. The biodome is an ancient technology. The pyramids is an ancient technology. Stonehenge is an ancient technology. But we're doing whole kinds of things, beating drums and doing all this stuff to try to awaken all these things. But most of these sites need some sort of technology to wake them up. A literal technology of something, a device or something. We can chant all we want, and all we're going to do is sound good. But we do need some sort of device. We were in North Carolina, and there was an old site there that we looked at, and we did bring our devices with us that day. And there were 4 or 5 people with us, and some with the devices. And we did do something because it scared the heck out of everybody there. There was like, okay, that's too weird, because nobody's expecting anything to happen. But something was happening, and we stopped before anything else happened. And I can get more into that story later, but we need some sort of technology device to open most of these things that people talk about. A lot of the language that we used to speak is lost. You talk about Arabic and all the other languages. The languages wasn't what you think it was. Language was a vibrational language that can open these things up and be able to use them in a good way for all humanity, all the races of people. Just not one for one thing. Just remember that if there's technology to do that, it could be weaponized. So we have to be very careful, very, very careful. And just like the biodome, it's that we have to be very careful with this, because it is an actual device, and it does work, and it shows on meters. It's something that is very powerful if we want it to be, but it has to be governed a little bit through spiritual people and the good use. So I hope that answers your question.
Kind of. Okay. So, well,
there's more questions. I know.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you could try to give a brief idea of the individual me to be in harmony, be that thing, and then the collective, is there something that we could shift within the collective, or is it has to be the individual? Like the I creates peace for all, or is there something I can start within the community that goes, yay, planetary peace?
I wish I'd be doing it right now if that was possible. But what it is the Copper Scrolls brought the information to us, and it was released at a certain time back 83 years ago that conscious shift was shifting. But we keep on thinking of the conscious shift for the last 10 years. It's been 83 years, because in order to do something with the conscious shift, it's like, okay, I want peace on earth. How do that? Do I make road signs? Do I stand in front of the thing, say world peace and everything like that? The conscious shift is that something shifts inside of our spirit, and it's okay. Take Martin Luther King, all the different people. And it takes time to do anything. And 83 years is not a very long time in the spiritual realm. It's at least a second and a half, not even that, in the spiritual realm. And so that conscious that we are, that collective, the Copper Scrolls gave us information, literal information, that what we can do as a community, what we can do together. Along with the biodome. The biodome is a technology, but there's a spiritual technology that goes with the biodome. It goes with all the other resonators. But we have to be open enough to be able to do that. And it's simple enough, but it's hard. That we have to be quiet. That's very hard to do. And what the Spirit gave us, whoever sent those information to us, they gave us a way to do it. A very specific way, and it is a technology. When you talk about spirit, and I know people get so upset about it, so the spirit and technology don't have anything to do with anything. Okay. Why are people posting spiritual things on the internet? internet is a technology. You're using it to spread your spiritual message. It should be able to spread it by itself, but it doesn't. The Copper Scrolls explain a way, listed in numbers, mathematical numbers, a lot of mathematical numbers, how to actually do that. And it is to, I try to get this right because people are going to go to try to do this. And my suggestion is to get a hold of the Star Teachings. We have teachers in the Star Teachings that will teach you the method of how to communicate and how to receive and how to gather a collective so we can use it. And it's pretty listed in the Copper Scrolls how to do that, a very precise way of doing it. So my suggestion is to contact the Star Teachings. We have a Facebook working on the website. There's teachers there that would be glad to explain what that technology is. We have people that are immersed into that now. We've been doing that the last 5 years in that communication of spirit and collecting that collective and that message. And it's been working. I think the strange thing about that is we've been actually, right now we don't have the antenna up completely, but with the 1% that we have, we've been really receiving messages. So something that we could actually use to help communities, to help the individual as spiritual beings. Now, because we keep on thinking we're alone in this on this planet, but it depends on what you think alone is. You have bacteria and you have other intelligent lives in you. You have beings run around looking for communication, but how do we communicate with them? I think that, again, that we have to figure out what that language is, and the Copper Scrolls teaches us that language. But it's not something you can get from a book, and I know that a lot of you that has communicated with me. Where can I find it? What book should I read? What should I do? Remember, the Copper Scrolls have just been deciphered the last 40 years. So remember what the 83 years is, that consciousness that is starting to open up. One individual, two individuals, three individuals, four individuals are learning about how to do this. And it goes right along with all the technologies that I've been doing out there. So the biodome, the resonators. The resonator is a smaller version of the biodome. That you can put a resonator in your home. You can put it outside make your garden grow better. You can use a resonator to generate electricity for your house if you wanted to. And it's an actual energy that you can see and monitor. But the Star Teachings, remember, Star Teachings is an organization, but the Star Teachings is a teachings. It's an ancient teachings that's been passed down through 20,000 years of lineage, mostly through the native people, the Mi'kmaq people. And it was hidden for a long time because what would you do with it? How would we understand that? We keep on thinking communication is words, but communication is through the magnetic field around you. You wouldn't be able to understand me if I was in a vacuum right now, because the words wouldn't hit you, because in order you to hear, it has to go through airwaves so you can hear it and define it. There's something beyond that communication in the spiritual realm, is that the vibrational language, you don't need air to communicate. And that's something. And we keep on thinking ETs and aliens eat what we eat, drink what we drink, breathe like we do, same gravitational pull. Well, you must well say all bears are black or white, because they're not. All the ETs are different. They eat differently. They breathe differently. And they think differently. And their philosophy is different than what you think. It's like the Europeans came here and they thought the philosophy of the Native Americans were their philosophy. They believed in a God. You should believe in a God. You should do this and you should do that. We're savages. And I know that's kind of crude, but think about that. Aren't we doing that right now? We are in this realm looking for intelligent life. We should be intelligent, trying to find it and understand what that is. like I said, that what I know is very little, 1% and 1%. And but I've been doing this for a long time. I've been speaking. I've been looking for the people that have been sleeping for a long time, awakening. And of course, you need teachers. You know, get a college diploma without a professor. That's hard to do. You might be able to do it online, but it's very hard to do. Star teaching is the same way. You need a teacher. You need a star teacher to help you to understand this language. And most of the star teachers out there have been at least active for 5 years, and they know something. And we'll start to answer a lot of your questions. Would this help the world? Of course. Is it an answer for peace? No. You're the answer for peace. You know, everybody's looking for that formula out there that will turn lead into gold. You can do that, but it's better just go find it. Go find that knowledge. The people are there, we're willing to help. And we're working on that, kind of like that program now, so you get this Star Teachings information for you. Biodomes from it. A lot of people have been going to the biodome. But we are working right now on coming to see you. There's ways to do that. We have people that are willing to come and talk with the Star Teachings and to immediately to get this antenna working immediately. We've been doing it the last 5 years. It's been working, and we've been all around the United States teaching in Canada, and we're heading to country. I'm not sure what, Slovenia, I guess, or some place, and heading to Australia and all the different other places, and then bring the teachings. I think that too is that hopefully I'm answering your question. I'm kind of rambling on to different things, but what is another question, Matt?
Okay, yeah, I got that was a good ramble. Somewhat clear, I would say. Well, what I wanted to kind of share with people is like you met the Dalai Lama on his request, so just people know that. If you look online in the Star Teachings, one of your balloons just gives you straight mathematics. That's mind-blowing. So this is part of the technology. Robert Grant has released an absolutely mind-blowing course on the Resonance Science Foundation, and I got to watch you guys communicate, and it didn't make any sense, and it was wonderful. But he's talking about getting 50 new mathematical constants. He's talking about, and his thing is mathematics through linguistics, but what it comes back to is consciousness and the merger. It comes back to kind of a spiritual idea. And so, he's seen your math and you've seen each other's. And so the technology is sound. That's just kind of what I wanted to share. But what we're getting back to is how do we apply the technology? How do we create that within the individual? So I guess what I wanted to ask is, you have these Star Teachings, where do they come from? Because on this planet, we're so divided. And does it unify or not unify, or how does it relate to, like, is Hinduism correct? Is it Islam? Is it Buddhism? Is it, where did were they each ascended masters? Is it all one idea? And I know it's very vague, and I don't know if you can kind of speak on that, but on the Star Teachings, what I like is one of the things it says is, regardless of your race, religion, or nationality, kindness is a language that everybody can understand. And I think that goes for acceptance. And for me, I really enjoyed Buddhism when I was studying with Tibetan monks in Nepal, because they were fine with whatever you were doing. They're just like, it's not about trying to oppose any other force. It's about your connection with spirit and creating that. And there's fundamentals and there's lessons. So, but I know there's like Hindu gods and Islam, and there's just so many different ones, and we can kind of lose this connection. And I'm just curious if the Star Teachings relates to any of that.
Well, I have studied all those different religions and different spiritual movements, not in a negative content. Is that I used to go to visit churches just every Sunday. That's how I'm going to go visit this church. And it is interesting because we're not wrong. We're not all wrong. All churches are not wrong. Atheists is not wrong. Is that when we start to judge, our field is shut off. When we start to judge, it's like, I'm right and you're wrong. And there's a God and there's no God. Well, I can't prove either, honestly. I can't prove that there is a God up there watching over us, but I can't even prove it's not there, because right now I'm limited to your soul, your earth, And it's like, okay, what are we looking for? We're looking for a direction. And used to call it, I did a theory one time, mom and dad theory. Your mother watches over you, your dad watches over you. And they make sure that you don't cross the road when the cars are there. They make sure that you're fed. They give you a philosophy on what that is. And when we're without our mother and father, because it's like, oh my goodness, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a direction? Most of our direction is put there for us to go in a direction. I'll give you an example. When you drive to LA, you pay attention. Somebody had to go out and put those signposts out. Somebody had to make the road. Somebody had to number the roads and everything else. We still get lost trying to get to Boston or something. But we have all these numbers and all these different things, but we don't have the device or the book to tell us how to get to LA with all the numbers. We can wing it, and we will get there eventually, but we're going to be going all in different directions. That's kind of like spirit, is that we look for spirit and look for a direction. And I remember one person spending 7 years out there looking for direction, and he finally bumps into me. And I tell him, so it's really your choice what your direction is. So I just spent 7 years out there looking for direction. Yeah, but you wasn't reading the signs, what Spirit was giving you. Spirit won't never take us on a blind journey. Spirit won't tell us, won't test us. The Spirit won't make it hard for us. They're like your mom and dad that's right beside you. There's a negative and positive, so the energy feels a little bit different. They say, okay, do you remember yesterday when you stepped in that puddle? He said, yeah, it was pretty cold. There's a puddle in front of you. Are you going to walk through it or go around it? And it depends on what that puddle felt like. You might walk through it again, and it'll be fine. Or it might be a bear in front of you, and the bear is showing his teeth, and you have kindness and compassion and happiness down packed. And you go try to pet him, he's going to bite you. Is that we never can retain all those three at once. Yet, anyway, is that we keep on looking for that direction, searching for the star, searching for the answer. I tell people you have the answer. The answer is what you make it. And I've been saying that over and over for the last 40 some odd years. And I put myself in the same boots. It's like, life is what I made it. The only person I could blame for where I am right now is myself, because I chose the journey. I'm not chosen to do this. God didn't come to me and say, David, would you bring the star teachings to the world? And I would pray and bow and everything else. No, I was like, okay, I'll try. And it was my choice. And when it started my choice, my path changed. It wasn't the highway anymore. It wasn't those clearly marked signs in the streetlights and the convenience stores and all the different places. But it brought me left, brought me right, it brought me all different places, because the star teachings is not a clear path. It's your path, whatever your path is. That's why one of the teachings is to change your direction. Never go home the same way, because we do that for 40 some odd years. We drive the same way, see the same people. Change that direction. Even if your job is for 20 years, go a different way home. Stop at a coffee shop. Give something away, and that is that change. Is that change that we are looking for? It's not somebody else. It's not a boss that's telling us you should be working 8 to 5. That is your choice, being there. If you have to feed your family, that's fine. But it's all our choice. It's nobody on this earth is chosen to do nothing. We're here, I guess, for a picnic, and that picnic is what we make it. We want to change the world. Let's change ourselves, change our mind first before we do that. And when we do that, then more people will find out what you're doing. Because we don't want to make anybody do anything. Now, I know that I argue with a lot of the Christian people, and like I said, I tell people I'm not right. I'm sorry, I'm not right. And he said, they want me to convert. I said, I have my way, and I respect your way, and if I can help in any way, please ask. But we're so mixed up like concrete and hardened that we can't change. That we can't. And what when we say that we can't change, we can. We have to look for that star, look for that hope and that spirit that we can be a guide in this world, that light that brings people to the truth. That's really hard because I find it challenging when I'm out there because we believe in so many different things, and I don't want to change anybody's belief in what we're doing, but it's very hard because I get ridiculed about love. He says, love thy neighbors, love you. Well, that's fine. If we can really do that, that's great. That would work. But we don't do what we say. Is that goes away really quick when we feel hate. Because when we feel hate, then the love goes away. Then we hate our neighbor. We hate that person that pulled in front of us. And it's like we get out and we swear and holler and everything else. So it's really hard for myself to come to you, to be in this world, and to share where I come from, what we do, where there's no wars, there's no way to that we you anything that I want, because I would give it to you. And that's hard to understand you, well, because you guys deal in economics, you deal in trade, gold, paper, things like that. So that dilutes our way of thinking. When that's diluted, then everything else is the truth behind it. I need currency to bring the spiritual message. No, you don't. That is a belief that we put into ourselves so we can eat. You're going to eat anyway. To bring the spiritual message is to listen without money, without anything traded. And where I come from, the longhouse. I've spoken the longhouse for a long time, and that longhouse is that they come in to hear you, the storyteller, to understand what the world is, prophecy, all the different things. And the reward there is happiness. It's a lot of laughter. I'm not saying currency is not part of that, but it's part of your world, how you guys function. But it's mixed up into your spirituality. And when it gets mixed up, then you have a soup, most likely soup with onions and rocks and garlic and everything sour. And it's harder to see what spirit is. Like I said, I'm not denouncing currency, but it's mixed up into your spirituality. And when that happens, then we reject people. People can't come into your spiritual teachings. The star teachings, if I'm holding an event, everybody is invited. If you don't have money, you come in and sit. And that's hard to teach because we're so brought up with our parents and everything else to go out and get a good job. And I did that for a while. And I don't know if it was a good job or not, but it took up a lot of my time. And I think, too, that we are on this path together. And some of us need help. You know, I noticed that we're looking for something. What are we looking for? Let's look together. I tell people, let's look together. We don't know what it is. Well, one of us will figure it out. We'll find a lot of stuff along the way. I know that I walked 500 some odd miles before because our people were committing suicide, and they didn't know why they were committing suicide. So I walked for the people. And in that walk, that other people joined me. And by the time I was done that walk, we had a line so long that people want to know what was going on. Did it stop suicides? No. Maybe slowed it down some. But we have to do something, you know, in this world. And hopefully that what we're doing is not hurting other people, is not rejecting people, is not segregating people so they can't come and hear the teachings. I think too that's hard because my elders, when I was with my elders, that the teachings were open to everyone, and no matter who they were and what they thought, even your enemy. Because the reason why an enemy makes enemy because they don't know you. They're scared of you. They think you have a different thought process. But the thought process of kindness goes with everybody on this earth. Goes to the people in the Amazon that practice kindness and compassion and happiness. Goes to the people in New York that practices kindness, that is homeless. It is people in California that practices kindness. There's people that all over the world that resonates the kindness. And this antenna that we're making, it generates that kindness, compassion, happiness. It gives us a little bit of free time in this world to let everything go. And then when we let everything go, things are filled inside of us. That information that goes into our spirit is that we can actually go out, practice kindness. What other thought is that we see somebody need help, or even not only the homeless, but the people that the restaurants you go, find out their names. Who are they? Who are the people sitting beside you? People don't want to be bothered. But you're not bothering them. If you're standing in line, stand backwards. The person has to have a conversation with you eventually. And goes, why are you standing backwards? Because I don't follow the regular norm. I like walking backwards. And I see you. And people really need that. And I've been doing that for 50 some odd years. And people do respond to it because people want to know they're being heard. And being kind is being quiet for just a little bit so you can hear these people. Compassion is that compassion shares in the two molecules that bond and have circle around each other. Yes, they're there. They strengthen the luminous threads that we're all connected with, that informational thread. And then bonds are created. But it's hard of this world because there's a lot of things on this machine and on the internet that tells us differently. End of the world's fake news and all that. It was like, I thought news was fake anyway, let alone now fake news. Look for the good in these machines, I denounce them, but also we can have fun, I watched the kitty cat that plays the piano and I laughed my head off of that. I don't know why. It's just a cat playing a piano. Who knew, So hope that answers some of your questions, Matt.
Some of it. And I wrote a bunch of things down because obviously I have 1,000 more questions as always. And we spent 2 weeks together. So thank you for sharing that. So one of the things that you taught me that I really enjoyed was called spiritual mass. And you used the analogy of flying through the solar system as a star. And if that star, say, weighs 1 ton and it's moving 1 million light years an hour, it's going to go past other stars that are stagnant, and that it'll have a shepherding effect on the star. So it'll move those other stars in that direction. So if you have 1,000 tons and you're moving at, 200 million light years, it's going to have more effect. And that was the analogy that you shared. I can't remember what question I asked, but I was like, I want to feel like I'm doing enough. I want to feel like I'm contributing. I want to feel like I'm doing the right thing and I'm having a good life and, all that kind of fun stuff. And so you shared that with me and it really clicked because you talked about action. So many of us aren't taking action, and just the 3 acts of kindness a day or 1 act of kindness a day. You can walk by so many people all the time and not do something, not get their name, not think about making them smile. And you don't have to make it overt. It's just you're taking actual action. And so many of us don't take action. And when you shared that and I started doing it, I realized how little action I was taking. I definitely do take action, but since then, the amount of action is way more. And I know that I'm having a more impact. And so the way that I equated it was that maybe I was 1 ton of spiritual mass before, but over 30 years on this planet, if I continue to do these things every single day, my spiritual mass, my energy, my ability to shepherd others or show an example is much bigger. And you can use the example of Bruce Lee for me, because I love Bruce Lee. He's dead now, but he did the action. And now as an observer at a different period of time, I can see the wake that he left, and I can see those messages, and I can see that way of life. And I can say, hey, you know what? I really enjoyed so much of this way of life. I can now model that. And he did that through being himself, through taking action. So the one question that I want to really touch on, and I realized I hadn't asked you because I have asked you a lot of questions, was how can we deal with suffering, and why do we have suffering, especially with kids? And so I'll give you two examples. One would be just tragedies that happen in the world. I don't know if they're real or not. Well, I would assume so because I'm on the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, and they're looking at the sex trade and, lots of death there, kids going missing, things like that. And I see that and I can break. I sometimes will just cry because I just don't know. I feel like I want to do something. I don't know what to do. And there was a tragedy recently in Canada, in Humboldt. It was a Saskatchewan hockey team, and 15 kids were lost. They're just kids and they're lost. And, people die every day around the world from starvation. So that's a real thing. And that bugs me. But this is something that, okay, you have a parent and then you have a kid. So that parent, that amount of grief, that suffering, that pain, and we're suffering, it's like super intergalactic and amazing at some points, and expansive, and I'm excited about life. And then there's this depth of suffering. It's like, why am I suffering? And why do I view, and I can look and I can see these others suffer. Is there a point to suffering? And if so, how do we deal with suffering?
I think we have to look at the question in a different way. And I think, because I counsel a lot of people on death, and I guess I've had a lot of death in my family, and different things that happen. And suffering goes along with anguish, so that we make ourselves suffer. And I know when my father passed away that I felt like I was in pain, but I was not in pain. That was a thing that I did to myself because I felt the loss of my father, and I thought I should put pain in there because he left, and he left me here. Because that pain itself, but I see it every day. I get news every day of something's happening, or somebody needs prayers, or somebody's in the hospital, things like that. That we have a chance to be angels here on this heaven we are in, and anybody in exploiting children or anything like that, I think that we have to be more of aware of what we're doing here. And being aware is that we don't have enough people aware of these things that go on. I look on the thing that we are raising funds to start, something to find children. We should be all aware of this, what's going on, this traffic. And this is part of the awareness of what spirit is. So we need to be aware who we are and who we're with, and to be safe too. There's a little bit more an explanation why we die, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Please don't let me forget that question. That awareness, the pain that we see other people, is remember that we're replacing something inside of us, but to pain. Why is that? It's because we don't know what to do. And ceremonies, participation. We need to be able to do that ceremony. I know that I used to look for people, missing people. I used to track people, things like that. But we need to be more aware of what's going around us and how to help more. And I looked at the thing that you support, and I support the same thing. That we have to come to that consciousness that we need a better way of thinking of our economics, better way of understanding what the spirit's about, what is our sexuality about, what are we doing here, and how are we expressing this? Why is it we're hurting children? Why is it that we need to do all this? There's not enough information that what's going on out there, why we're doing this. We can say why, but exactly what makes a person do that? Why is that's happening? And go down to economics, but economics explains some of it, but it doesn't explain all of it. We have to understand what the individual is doing on this earth and what they are looking at. Because of this machine, you can do a lot of things with this machine, This machine is good and bad. It depends on how we use it. That if we had more people aware, I think we could slow some of this, these things going on down more than what they are. Pain is a physical thing that we are replacing. We can't do anything, so we're in pain. We've experienced that. I went to college for psychology, but it doesn't explain the world. They never could explain the world. We can explain sometimes why we do things. The majority of the time we're wrong. It's that inner part of spirit that we lock away. We don't dare to bring out, so we express it in different ways. And some of those ways is pretty bad. War, hurt, different pain.
So with that, what would do you know if is there a reason or a function for the suffering here? Like, why are we sitting here in suffering?
Well, I'm gonna go on a taboo subject that people say don't talk about this because it's what I do on Sunday and the only thing I have from work. Sports is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why do we watch people tackle each other on a football field? Why do we paint our face and go out there and celebrate and things like that? And some ways of people expressing it. We're expressing an ancient part of it, an ancient feeling that we have inside of us for destruction and things like that, and we're watching other people do it. Back in the Romans, it was the Colosseum that they brought people in, but it was accepted then. Right now, that we don't do enough for our children. I think children should have a chance to play. And most adults that never had a chance to play, usually you find them exploiting and doing other stuff. They understand what they are. It could be something else, but I think that awareness and being able to protect our children, protect the individuals around us that's from this harm, we don't step into it enough. But if it's a football game, $1 billion. If it's children, we have to raise funds, and that's ridiculous. And I think it's awareness. I've talked about awareness a lot. But people explain away every day why they watch sports. And I get a lot of mail from people saying, "Oh, you don't know sports." Well, I used to be a sport person myself. I was in competition quite a lot. So I know what sports is, but it's our priorities. Honestly, it's our priorities. We want world peace. There's no profit in it. Sports is a profit in it. And our children look at these people, at least my kids do. Is that why? Why do we do that? And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of explanations on that. But we are out there not even thinking what we're doing. Hockey, football, people die at football games because their team is losing or somebody did something wrong. Why can't we feel this way about what's going on in the world, about the hunger, about people hurting children, people hurting other people? Because there's enough, we have more than enough money, we have more than enough food to feed this world. Because if you go home and eat tonight and you throw food away, how do you get that to hungry? It's our attitude and what we think spirit is and what we think we are. I know I get a lot of people mad, but I'm looking with my eyes what's going on. I turn the news on. There's always something bad happening, a shooting, school shooting and things like that. We're not aware. People are trying to express themselves in different ways, and we're not listening, and we don't have the availability to pay attention to most of the people, especially the kids. Kids should have a chance to grow up in a good environment, a safe environment, and to be happy and to be able to express themselves. But we're not taught that anymore. That was taken away many years ago. That our grandfathers and everything, we separated. We put our seniors in a senior home and leave them there. I'm sure there's some of us out there, but we forget it. We forget that they wore out. We don't need them anymore, and they're the protectors. Most of the protectors of what we are and what spirit is, because they have the memories. We're ruled on income, how much money we can make and what we can do, and how many friends we like on Facebook and things like that. But truthfully, we're the fault of all of this, including me. It's like, I can blame it on somebody else, but awareness, they're taking our children, how do we stop them? Is put the cell phone down, open thy eyes, look around you, you know, we have some learning to do. We haven't learned it all, and that's why I believe everybody's channeling the higher consciousness. Give me a break, honestly. Give me a break. We can't channel the higher consciousness. We solve all these other things, and that's why the resonate. I've spoke to thousands and thousands of people in audiences and stuff like that, and they clap. No, you're a very good speaker, but nothing's done after that. Maybe 1%, maybe you, maybe people that are listening and be able to help that. That is what we do, Matt. That's what we do. We help the children too. That's what we do. My apologies.
No apologies necessary. It was a good rant. What you told me not to let you forget is going on more when we die, and just to kind of bring up my thoughts on what you're saying. I remember going through Dan Winter's course in physics, and it's really intense, and I don't even know what I looked at, but I did it anyways. And he talks about how the native cultures or older cultures would basically teach culture. Like what culture was teaching your young how to take memory through death. So that's actually immortality, is the ability to take your memory through lifetimes, not the actual physical body, which I find interesting. And I think that it's so important that we have, for me on the podcast, I'm always wanting older people that have been doing it for a long time, because there's a big difference between somebody who's been doing it for a year or 5 years and a man that's been on the planet, or a woman that's been on the planet doing it for 40 years. That's some wisdom. That's some life experience. And you connect that old wisdom with the new kids, and even people 15, 25, I'm 34. I still don't know what's going on. I have 152 podcasts of trying to ask people what is going on. And nobody knows. Nobody has any idea, including me. But it can come back to the simple basics of being kind and having life and all. I've got the guidelines a little bit, but really, our culture is it can use some improvement in connecting old wisdom with the kids, and what we're doing to the kids. It doesn't make any sense with schools. They're in an institution right away. I have a huge problem with modern education. And we're separating, like you said, the old people. We throw them in old folks' homes, so then they're not with their family. And then it kind of goes back to the suffering thing. Then you got the kids that are getting worked over right away. They don't even know it. The parents are stressed out because they're going to jobs and they need to work 2 jobs to provide for their kids. And the old people are sad because they're not helping they're not with their family. So we have this kind of broken system type of thing. And I think that maybe I'll just share that I think that what you're talking about, and when we discussed a lot of things like this when I was with you, you just talk about taking action in your own life. A lot of people have these ideas, it's like, we're going to do a 1,000,000-man march. We're going to raise money for this. We're going to do that. But how many people are actually doing anything at all? And if even 5%, 10% people start to think like this, start to actually take action on what they can do, then shifts are going to happen really quick. It really comes down to the individual. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on that, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think action is very important, because we have an idea. And I know a person that says, I have an idea. When I get older, I'm going to do this, and it'll be my nest egg. And by the time he get to his age, he did the idea and it didn't work. I said, you were depending on that idea for 30-some years, and you thought it was going to work? And he said, yeah. And he said, then he has to go back and take another job. He should have did that idea when he had it. And like any of us, people come to me with ideas. I said, great, do it, do something, do something in that. In order to be successful, spiritually successful, you have to fall on your face at least 70 times. You understand what that means? is that, all right, people say, well, I want to know all the answers before I start this. So great. That means you want to get in your car and have an engine first and have this and make sure that's right. The same what we're doing here is that this is part of life, is that experience that we are failing, but failing is not failing, it's just doing something else. Keep doing something else. And after a while, you're going to be successful at something. Because I'm not an expert on anything, but I do a lot of stuff because I didn't want to fail. I kept on doing it over and over and over and over until I got back up and kept on doing it. And I'll probably fail again. We keep on thinking success is the end of our life and we're going to be taken care of. But I know a lot of senior citizens right now that working at Kmart or Walmart is because they depended on one job all their life to take care of them. And they put them, by the time they're ready to retire, they fired them before the retirement. So all that money's gone. Don't you think about that? We should think about things like that. If we need a nest egg, if we need some sort of income, we should start doing something when Spirit gives us that idea. Because we ask Spirit, I don't want to work this job the rest of my life. The Spirit says, well, we'll see what we can do. They go and look at something. They ain't going to force you. They're going to give you ideas. And them ideas that you should research those. And you never know. Right now, there's a successful person every 10 minutes that comes on an idea. And all the ideas are not used up. We only use 1% of 1% of all the ideas in this world. And it might be you who have the next great idea. But you got to do it now, not tomorrow. Now. You understand that?
Yeah. Yep. I've definitely had a lot of ideas that I haven't taken any action on. So, well, I take some action, and for me, it's usually, I think when I'm speaking to others, they have the idea and they want it to be perfect, and the logo's got to be like this, and everything's got to be perfect before they just do it. And the strategy that I've used is just do it ugly and just get it done and improve as I go along. And this is something that I learned from skateboarding. And I just learned that Jordan Peterson has a chapter in his book, and he says, don't disturb kids while they're skateboarding. And skateboarding is only failure. It teaches you so much. You are only failing, and you're moving. And again, you consistently go back to actually moving, actually doing something. And to give you an example, I went to go get a new microphone the other day because this mic has been messing with me, just doing silly things. And I had to return the other one that I got because I bought a stupid one. I didn't know what I was doing. And so the guy goes, I was like, hey man, like I need a microphone for a podcast. He goes, how many episodes do you have? And I said, 150. He's like, oh, what amazing. He's like, you have no idea how many people come to me, ask me for a microphone and say they have an idea for a podcast, but they never do anything. And I was like, okay. So, taking action is really a fundamental theme with this. And I know that we can go kind of, let's say intergalactic with it, but I'd like to keep it very real and human because I think this is where the point is. So I guess the question I'd like to ask is around the art of like push pull type of thing, like in going through my life. So one side is I get the idea, right? And now I got to make the logo and I got to do the logistics. I got to get up, I got to plan. And then we got biohacking, we've got Tony Robbins, we've got, 4 steps for success. And when you're in a structured system, like a Navy SEAL would be, you'd be very productive, right? That's real thing. And then on the other side, you have the philosophy of Zen, surrender, ask for spirit, be in flow in your life experience. And what happens for most is they get sucked into the biohacking, do it perfect, effective type of deal. And so I'm just curious if you have thoughts on that. My thought is balance, I guess. That's where I'm at because I've kind of looked at both, and just curious what your philosophy would be around that of navigating life. I'm listening to David today. He's inspired me. I have an idea. Ideas come through. Now I need to live every single day. I got to put food on the table for my kids. I still got the same problems. Is it around the structured application and how much do we force it into existence? Or can we just bring it in and flow it into existence, like dance it into existence?
Yeah, I get this question quite a lot. It kind of narrows down, you can have all the numbers and all the different things out there. It narrows down to be pretty simple. what do you want? What do you want? Is this what you want to do? And if this is what you want to do, go for it. But if it's this, oh, maybe this is not what I want to do, then that's going to influence what your success rate is. Is like, do you want a house? Do you want a new car? Do you need financial thing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I tell people, when they come with the ideas, and it's pretty well said, well, let's figure out, what do you want? Really, what do you want? And they said, I don't know. I said, well, then you got it. You got, I don't know. You ask for that. You have to be very specific in what you want, because if you want to get out of your job, if you want to do something else with your life, it is going to take some pain and suffering. You have to get up in the morning. It's going to take 14 to 15 hours a day for at least 4 to 5 months to a year to achieve this. You're not going to do it from 8 to 5, because right now what you do from 8 to 5 is what you have. Is that if you work from a job 8 to 5, I don't have anything other, is what you have right now. Security, insurance, whatever else. If you want what the 5% wants, you have to do what the 5% and the 95 don't do, is work in that direction. At least mine is 15 to 16 hours a day, just working when I'm come home from my work. Is that you have to really put those fundamentals out there and do it. And represent. If you have a business, represent yourself. Have a business card, and you have your product always with you. Things like that. That's common sense. Any book you find a bookstore and success tell you that. And you got to believe in your own props, your own products, your own things that you do. You got to have it on you. If you're selling a book, you should have a book in your back pocket. You should be able to give this book away if you had to. This is who I am. Great. And then you hit more people that way, and getting your book. I don't have a book, so I don't have one in my back pocket, but I have my words, and I don't change my words for anybody. People have me come to speak and say, can you not speak about that? I said, sure, but I speak about it anyway. But it's what I know, and what kind of what the world needs. What do you want? That's the same as when we talk about spirit. And I think I've even told you that. What do you want? Okay, if you want that, write it down. And what's it going to take to get that? And you can buy lottery tickets all you want. If you don't have $100,000, you're not going to make very much. You're only going to make in that. And if you're going to invest into lottery tickets, you have to have over $100,000, because it's a luck theory. So you have to put enough numbers out there. The same with anything that you do. If you have a idea for anything, get it on paper. Write it down so you can see it. And if you can see it, then something else happens. All right, this is going to take this. It's going to take this. And don't put spaces in between what you do. I say, I'm going to do this day, but next week I'm going to do that. And if you add up the hours and how that is, it's not very many hours. If you have an idea, your first week should be 30 hours. Plus your job of what you want to do. And I know that sounds, but people got to see what you do, and you got to know what you're doing, because when people look at you, they look for the confidence in what you believe in. And if you can't see it or drive it or be in it, it's kind of hard to represent that. If you believe in peace, you'd be the most peaceful person on this earth, and no road rage. So, because people have cameras now, they film you. How's that?
It's good. It's good. Okay, so this is a little bit of a side note. It's a big question. Do we have free will?
Do we have free will? Well, we have to figure out what spiritual free will and free will is. Spiritual free will, you have the whole universe. Do you have free will? You can't speed, you get a speeding ticket. You have to pay your taxes. They come and arrest you and don't pay your taxes. You need some sort of income, or you're not going to have a house, you're going to have something. So what about that? Is that free will?
It's not complete freedom, which is something that I would very much like. And people will talk about being a sovereign being. And that's, I want to just, if you go down the street and you look at a bear, or well, I guess bears aren't really rolling around the street unless you're in certain parts of the world. I think many of us in my circles anyways, we just want to be sovereign. We want to have clean food, clean water, indoors, around good community, travel peacefully. That's how do we get there? So that's
Well, I think we can do that already, but in order for me to go to North Carolina to come up where you are, I'm going to at least need $2,000-3,000 to come and see you. And how I do that, I'm a jeweler, so I work in jewelry. But to travel anywhere is like we're the ones who are restricting ourselves from where we're going and what we are, and our methodology and our spirituality and our income is all blended into one. So it's like, okay, in order for me to get where you are, I'm going to have to sell a ring or watches or do some repair or something like that to get there. We don't think about that as not free will. More money, maybe? Probably not, because that restricts you more, because you're going to have to protect that money somehow. Is that what you do? I just hitchhike where you are. Well, I'm going to have to eat, so I'm going to need some money. I can't hunt anymore, so that maybe I can hunt some of the way, but most people don't do that. They're engulfed in this society, what they teach us what free will is. We have free will because we're in the United States. Yes, to a certain point, but you can't say anything about the United States. You can't take up arms against the United States, things like that. And we have all these paperwork in Washington that says that we have all these rights of what free will is. So people have misinterpretations of what free will is and what isn't. And most people that have that interpretation is they don't have free will. And the same here. I have my, if I don't pay for my house, they're going to kick me out of it. If I don't pay for my insurance, my car, they won't let me drive. If I don't do certain things to the bank, they're going to close my account because they're not getting interest of my money. So that's all dealing with free will. So you tell me. I answered your question without answering. How's that?
Yeah. So no. Shoot. Yeah, it's an interesting navigation here on this planet. I'll tell you that, because just getting to you and the things that I experience to do the things that I want to do most and to contribute most, to figure out how to get that little piece of paper that gives me the ticket to the Ferris wheel ride, is a challenge. So what I wanted to ask, I guess, is how do I formulate this in a clear question? There's so much confusion, fake news, real news, different ways, right? So many different things, and we're bombarded by all of this information. Is there a way that we can connect to the truth and kind of see through the baloney? Like, give you an example. Is the earth flat? That is, you can go down the rabbit hole of flat earth. And I did. And I learned a lot of really cool things. I was like, maybe the earth is flat. Like, I don't know. Those are some compelling arguments in there. Then you go, it's like, no, it's floating around the ball in outer space. And I totally know why people are flat earthers. And I totally know why people are the opposite, because I looked at both and they're both compelling arguments. I've just never been in a spaceship and looked down and understand science to that degree and all that stuff to know for sure. So when I'm navigating this reality, trying to connect to the real truth, the true history, true knowledge, true empowerment, true connection to spirit, truth, just truth. What is true? Is there a way that we can find that?
Well, I think the variable of truth, what we look at, we said the flat earth theory. I did look into this. But it's like, okay, I'm not going to look at it anymore because there's thousands of information on there. But you have to realize basics of what the information is. All right, if the flat earth is true, and then of course they can have some compelling, not compelling, they just have things out there. I'm a scientist, so I can take a laser and hit the moon with a laser. Laser hits the moon, comes back, and I do that in different points a month. So if you understand anything about math on things that's coming back, a radio wave that's coming back, if it's flat Earth, I'm only going to receive a certain amount of information on what that signal is. If it's flat, it's pretty it's measurable to a certain point. But I'm measuring pi. Usually when you measure pi, that you measure an angle of what the deflection is. You take a triangle and triangulate it, and I measure at different points. This experiment was done during the 18th, 17th century. You put a post down, and that post at 12 o'clock, that post, there should be a shadow in that post, no shadow in that post. 1 o'clock, there should be a little bit like that. And so if our Earth wasn't round, that shadow would only go to a certain point. It wouldn't arc the line, the night and day. So, but it measures pi, it measures the golden ratio right on the dot. And I've done that over and over and over and over for the last 30 years because I'm launching balloons into an atmosphere that is spherical. And when it's spherical, you have your radio message doesn't come. It comes through an atmosphere, so it has to bend that radio wave comes through. So that's measurable too. The GPS is measurable. I can measure that, and it all comes back to that golden ratio. We are on a spherical. I'm sorry. We're not on a spherical plane. We're almost like an egg. We have one bulging out further than the other, and that's measurable. That's all measurable. I think that we look for conspiracy theories, and I know that people send me things, oh, we're in the flat Earth. I'm a pilot, so I've been up to 83,000 feet in an aircraft before, and people say, oh, they see the balloon. There's no arc, and they're mostly using GoPro cameras. So if you use a GoPro camera, it has a fish lens on it most of the time to arc it, and if you put it up in the atmosphere, it straightens all the horizon out because it's a GoPro camera in an arc. I've been up that far before, and I've seen the arc of the Earth. I mean, I've seen all this. So it's interesting to have the conspiracy theories, but why are they doing it? You know, like, all right, let's not believe this. Not believe the moon landing. I mean, we can go on and on and on. It goes back to the Kennedy's assassination and everything else. What is the truth? It's like we want to scramble the truth to make the world more interesting. The world is interesting enough as it is. That yes, I'm sorry, the world is round, and I've done experiments over and over and over, and I've looked at the things, but it's like, come on, you know, we have other things to do. We have starving children out there. We have homeless people. You know, like it's really hard to. It's not really hard to talk about, but it's like we want to believe different things, you know. But it's like, come on, you know, we revolve around the sun. I can measure that. I can measure Mars. I can measure the Milky Way. And we're the only flat planet. How come we don't see flat planets out there that are floating around with us? Satellites, satellite goes around the Earth. It doesn't go. If it goes around a flat Earth, it will be a oblong. It wouldn't be same because the gravity would be different on both sides. I've heard about this theory for a long time, and people get into it. But like I said, this is like news and anything else. It's like we want to believe certain things. That is my words. I ain't gonna change that. You know, like if that flat Earth is like okay. And one of the arguments is that the space shuttle goes into an angle, so it's not going straight up. You can't go straight up in a sphere because it will bring you back down. You have to have at least 17,000 miles an hour or more to do an orbit around the Earth. That's measurable. And all the space shuttles, they arc off at a 52-degree angle to get the orbit, get the best momentum of the arc. But people don't say things like that. You don't see very many people posting things like that. Space shuttle stays in low orbit. So if it was a flat Earth, it will splash down the ocean somewhere because it has to have a volume of gravity mass to go around. And that's all mathematics. If it was flat Earth, the measurements would be wrong. It wouldn't be. I couldn't measure the volume of the Earth. I measured the volume of the Earth when I was in junior high, and I was 1% accurate just on paper. The guy who won an hour did it, and I did it with just sticking a stick in the ground and measuring what the light coming there. And the sun has a volume to it. You can measure the sun's volume. You can measure the arc rotation. This is all written down somewhere. This is where I got it from. The arc rotation. You can measure the meteors coming in. They say that it might be a holograph. You say, well, maybe so, but my lasers go through it anyway. But I believe in the round Earth theory, or the egg Earth theory, because I can measure it. I can't measure flat Earth. A lot of stuff out there.
Right. So people will get confused, and thanks for sharing all that kind of stuff, because again, I don't know. What I will say though about your mathematics, you said on a previous podcast that you learned a different form of mathematics that is not normal. Robert Grant's course that's on the Resonance Science Foundation, which you can check out, is just mind shattering. And he said nobody can dispute it yet. And there were some similar conclusions that you guys have come to. And like I said, he's discovered that he believes we're going to get a bunch of new periodic table of elements coming. We're going to get a whole bunch of new mathematical constants. This is really going to open up how we experience life on this planet. And I want to kind of, you can comment on that. And I wanted to kind of divert a little bit into something that you've said before. You've talked about, you want to get a message to 7 million people. And so I was curious, what exactly is that message? What's the message you'd like to share?
Well, the message can't be shared by one person. But it's like I said, it's a spiritual mass. It's a mass of certain people to do that. We want a conscious shift on this earth. Like I said, that we have to be able to understand what I'm saying. And when I'm talking from spirit to people, it has to be a certain mass to do that. And it's like, is the sky blue? No, the sky is not blue. It's an interpretation of what we think the sky is blue. Is that how we perceive what sky is? The same with the message is that in order to conscious shift, that we need a spiritual mass to do that. And that's 7 million lights. I guess that's the only way to do that. It's like the mathematical formula is 0.3000.300, and it goes on to a billion zeros. That is a mathematical formula that we work with as humans. Is that anytime that there's something that happens in the world, Vietnam, all the World War I, things like that, there was a constant shift. There's something idea that went on that we needed to react to it, but we didn't know how to react to it. Is that most of the times that we are very scared of the dark, and when we are scared of the dark, we are going to flash out at anything in front of us or anything around us that doesn't have that idea. This is kind of what this is about with 7 million. Is that okay? Let's getting people looking in one direction, not believing in one direction, but looking in one direction. Keep your belief, looking in one direction, and then a conscious shift will happen. Then that road to peace should be well lit. Then, because I can talk until I'm blue in the face, and it's going to be very clever talking and math. But if we don't do something, and the Copper Scrolls has given us that instruction what we should do. It's like if we had an audible voice that telling us to build our ark, we go out there and get dogwood and build it by 40 cubics, by 80 cubics, and gather 2 animals. What's that all about? What is that audible voice? And that's what we're looking for the 7 million, is that conscious shift, that audible voice that we can hear and look in that direction. Really hard to explain. I have some things on YouTube that explain some of that. My suggestion is get on YouTube and look at some of those things that we've been talking about, and that will help you to answer some of these questions. And the question is answerable, but not by me as an individual, but me as a community. That would be a lot more interpretation there.
Well, thanks for that. And what I'd like to share for the audience listening, I've known you for a year, and I've asked you a lot of direct questions about a lot of different things. And what I've noticed is you don't really give me a straight answer a lot of the time. I have to go find it. And I think that's a really important thing about being a spiritual teacher on this planet is there's many, people out there, they're claiming to have the way. This is the thing. This is the thing that you do. And really it's guiding. And you and I are both martial artists, and we both know this, that you need to, give people a little bit so they can find the answer themselves. And what that really ultimately does is that makes them the creator, to know how powerful they are, their connection to spirit, their connection to navigate this reality. In the same analogy, teach a man to fish, or, give him the fish. He's only going to have a fish for a day rather than a life skill. And so I think that you speak like that. So I just wanted to share that. And Jacqueline wrote something. I don't know if this already happened, but I want to ask you. She says, ask him about the message that either came through in October or is coming through in October on the mountain.
The message already came through. There's some very important message. It seems like a simple message, but this message, how would you explain it? This message is so profound. It's not a complicated message, but if you really listen to it and understand that vibration, and the message claims, the message claims that it comes from the fifth dimension, and they're trying as much as possible to communicate with us. And their communications is way beyond our galaxies and what we can see, our visible light. Because right now we can go about 6 billion some light years. This is way beyond that. And this message was sent in response in 1977. We've asked for help. We asked for direction. And it took us this long to translate that message. And the message is pretty clear message. Go on we'll leave a link to view that message. You might be able to see that message on my Facebook. But listen to the message. Listen to, we interpreted, it was interpreted through the Mi'kmaq language first, and through English. But if you listen to both of the language, Mi'kmaq language is a vibrational language, but through English, listen to them. And that claims to be at least the fifth dimension, trying to contact us in this dimension and help. Listen to them as is I can't tell you how important that message is even to listen to. The people that are listening to this podcast, that are listening the first time, this might be talking to you, not to any individual. Is talking that, it's like, okay, what do we do? What are we supposed to do? And this, it's not take me to your leader. It's like, who are you? And how can we help? How can we communicate back and forth? So please listen to that. If you, we'll leave a link or something so you can listen to that. I can't tell you how important that. When I first heard that translated into the Mi'kmaq language, I cried because like somebody answered, something answered us. And it's so incredible that something did answer. And this is a mathematical formula that I took apart with this message. And this is why all the balloons go up and all the different things that we're looking for this message. And for humanity to understand the first contact, I think this is the first contact. And if you're on listening to this, and it's like, if it's anything that you do in life, listen to that message. It may be something that you can do to help. And then, I know that we played that message, or we read that message in one of the functions that we're doing, and just tears and all around. It's just so incredible because it was so felt into the spirit that it was like, oh, something did answer us, but what answered us? It's nothing that you could ever possibly imagine. So listen to that message. That's so incredible. I'm just getting choked just thinking about it.
So this is definitely 100% accessible. So you'll send me the link and I'll post it in Facebook, and I'll post it on YouTube when this is out, and I'll make sure that's posted. So you'll give me that, and I want to listen to it also. And so, what I want to remember to ask you before I go, and like I said, just for people listening again, spend 2 weeks with you. I saw stuff that I've never seen before. I vetted you through the smartest guy that I know, Robert Grant. And that guy, look at his, if you think you're smart, go try his math course. It's ridiculous. The etymology of number at Resonance Science. And, he's somebody who, knows that you're for real as well. And what you're talking about, it can get, you have balloons into space that I saw, and I saw the data you posted, and you have the world record for putting a balloon into outer space that reads data, and it's on this little phone. It makes no sense. And yet you're talking continuously about kindness, compassion, happiness, action, spiritual action, very simple things. And so what I wanted to ask you, is there anything that I or we can do for you? What if you had the things that you needed to work here to provide? And what I've noticed when I stay with you, you never ask for anything. You don't want to be the leader. You don't even want to be the one sharing this message. You want it to be, somebody else, so you can just live your life and be peaceful. And you've, through the other podcasts, that you've had very challenging experiences in your life, and you're listening to spirit and doing what it asks, and trying to share these star teachings, trying to share these ancient copper scrolls that come from your lineage, that are to the white man, to somebody outside of that upbringing. How the heck can you relate to that, living 27 years on a mountain with copper scrolls, getting taught by elders, a whole different language, a whole different upbringing? The difference between being Canadian and like Ugandan, it's that gap is even bigger. And so before we go, I just want to ask, is there anything that I or we can do for you? How can we help you? What would you hope to see?
I tell people, and anywhere that I go, people ask the same question: is to clear the beeswax out of your ears. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not doing this for profit. Is that we are on this planet to get along, and we're not getting along. To listen what the teachings is teaching us is that we're looking for the being in Atlantis. That sounds so great, to be in Atlantis, be in heaven and all this, and be in the spirit. But we should be that anyway. And I don't think people really listen to my words, because I have a hard time with the English language. I'm not good with pronunciation. I'm not good at expressing the 26 letters that you guys use. If I can speak in my language, and you guys could understand with the vibration, you would see this is Atlantis. This is Atlantis technology. We are from the stars. We're star stuff. Please, I just tell people, understand what please means, is that we do need help with all this. We can't do it. We have some beautiful people in the star teachings that are very generous and make sure that I get where I need to go. But I think we need more help. We need to travel more, to come where you are, to listen to what the star teaching is about, to bring some of this technology to you, to see how it works, how it benefits the community, and how it benefits the world, and to be in a resonator, and be into the biodome, and to be in that bubble of spirit. Is that this is all we want to be able to give you. You have asked for this. You're the ones who have asked for this. It's nothing. It's not about me here. It's not put me on this pedestal. I don't like pedestals. I can't breathe the air. But it's this is yours. This is yours. This is why your prayers the last 83 years. We've come to help you, but you have to ask for the help. You have to invite us. You have to bring us there. Matt is one of the angels that help with this process. So I just want to thank you for listening, and I tell people, when you listen to all this, take it with a grain of salt, because it's hard to believe some of it, but there's a lot of things out there that you believe, but at least with salt, you're going to taste something. So that is my words.
Thanks. Appreciate you coming on again. I know that you have to go, so you can feel free to stay as long as you want. I'll sit here all day, It's always a privilege and an honor to talk to you. Our private conversations are doubly bonkers for everybody else, and I'm not sharing those. Those are just for me. I can't. And but it's we went deep, but the how-to guide is so friggin' simple. It's so simple. And so I just want to thank you. And what I wanted to ask before we go, anything you want to leave people with, if there's anything that you wish that I'd asked you. I know that one of the rules is I have to ask a high quality question. I feel like I only do okay at that. So if anybody ever has some amazing questions for you, please let me know. But I was just curious, can you speak in any of your native tongue? And I know you got to go to do something, or it's an option, but to play some flute, because I've learned that the flute is actually magical and it can connect to like higher level beings. And I don't know if you played flute, if it would bring in magical beings. And the last thing, as I'm talking about the flute, can you please provide a link to where we can get your flute songs? Because now I know what they do, and I'm all about the flute, and you gave me a flute and I suck at it right now, but I'm going to get better.
You sound pretty good.
Thanks.
So, well, the music itself, I put an album up about 27 years ago, Voices of the Mountain. I don't know if that album's still out there, but I just made another album, and I'm not Carlos Nakai. I don't play kind of music, but I play the vibrational stories in the flute. So that album should be coming out. I'm working with Ben Turo right now on getting that album out soon. We're going to be releasing a song soon, like a song that just promotes part of that album. So I think on that part there, that of course we always need financial help with that. Is that didn't that took some time to make, but I think if you can get that CD, get it, because it would help you understand what this vibrational language is. Walis Kuknidab, Delawis Nigil, so thank you, my friend. I hope you're well. So I do speak my language, and I get a chance to be home and spoke a little bit with my mom. But I think that find out who we are. You know, if you're curious, find out who we are. We don't have a book that we can tell you what the star teachings are. The book is you. The pages are you. The stories are you. That's how we work. Is that we're in communion. We're in the community. That we unite together. Find out who we are, and I'd be interested in who you are. And we come from a long ways away to honor your request, and we would like to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Again, I'm so grateful for you and everything you share. And so if people want to find out more, they can go to Star Teachings on Facebook. We are looking to remedy the Star Teachings site as quickly as possible. Resources will make all of this easier because you've been working on donations, traveling the world, and literally working tirelessly. I watched you work just so hard on the biodome with nothing, building advanced technology, dumpster diving. It's ridiculous. The stories that I've heard as I've gone through is completely ridiculous. And this needs to be solved as quickly as possible. And I hope and I trust that it is. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Check out Star Teachings on Facebook, and we'll put in the links to what you shared, and have an amazing day. So great to see you again.
You be well.
Okay. Take care.